Ocarina of Time never ends. Just when you think speedrunners have finally solved this game, time and time again, new glitch discoveries and new skips just seem to come out of nowhere. Whether it be something huge that changes the game forever, stuff like wrong warps, SRM, and ace, or perhaps more specific time savers which make a certain category faster, and sometimes even easier for beginners. So today, we're gonna go over the new skips that recently shook up the Defeat Ganon No SRM category, formerly known as any percent, as well as a major rule change. With the current any percent route utilizing the incredibly powerful stale reference manipulation to warp straight to the credits from the beginning of the game, Defeat Ganon serves as a legacy category of some sorts to preserve an old any percent route. Specifically, the Ganondorf routes that lasted from April 2012 to January 2020, which I know many of you watching are very nostalgic for. You could say that Defeat Ganon is the Ocarina of Time equivalent to the 16-star speedrun in Mario 64. In fact, in the first half of 2022 alone, Defeat Ganon was the game's second most ran category, and it's very likely that that number will increase given these revolutionary developments. By the end of today's video, I want to convince at least one person watching to pick up Ocarina of Time and learn this speedrun, as I will be doing just that on the evening of this video's release at twitch.tv/lunaticj. More details about that at the end of the video. To start off, it would be remiss of me not to mention the category's first significant time save since Defeat Ganon split from any percent. In the Deku Tree, there are these spiderwebs that block access to the basement levels. To reach the end of the dungeon, the webs leading to the basement must be destroyed. This can be accomplished in two ways: jumping from tall enough height onto the web to break it, or to burn it away. In this run, the fastest and seemingly only practical way to break the web leading from the first floor to basement level 1 was to jump on it from high up. Speedrunners did this standard method for several years, although they saved a bit of time by not climbing all the way up, instead activating the infinite sword glitch and using that to hover on one of the Walshulas on the vines as a means to break the web faster. However, that all changed on March 19th, 2020, when longtime Zelda glitch hunter Exodus discovered something fascinating. Exodus was playing around with an obscure glitch known as Quick Put-Away. This glitch involves putting away a weapon without the put-away animation playing. Originally discovered as a version 1.0 exclusive glitch in July 2014, Quick Put-Away involved pulling out a cutscene item such as a trade item or magic beans the frame after pressing A to put away the weapon in Link's hand, resulting in some strange side effects, most notably using the slingshot to cause the wind sound effects from the Haunted Wasteland to play. Weird. Another quick put-away method that worked on all versions involves putting away the item a frame before taking damage, and that was discovered in 2015, but it once again seemed pretty trivial. Flash forward to March 2020, and Exodus discovered that when performing quick put-away with a Deku stick, the stick will still be in Link's hand, and if Link jump slashes with the stick, the recoil from the stick breaking causes the tip of the broken stick to light torches. For some reason, getting a broken stick after doing quick put-away gives it fire properties due to a glitched damage value. As a result, it has a lot of other strange properties, but more importantly, you can now burn the web leading to the Deku Tree basement. By getting close enough to the Deku Baba with the put-away text on the A button icon, we can perform quick put-away, jump slash this wall to get the broken stick, crouch stab the web with the broken stick, and let her burn. With the fastest route, there is no reason to climb up so high anymore, which saved over 20 seconds, which is pretty huge for such a short category. But now it's time to talk about the big one, the trick that eliminated one of the most difficult and frustrating parts out of the entire run, the trick that has made Defeat Ganon more enticing than ever for beginners, the trick that finally led me to learn this speedrun. Collapse Skip has been one of the most wanted tricks in Defeat Ganon for quite a while, and it's finally here. This trick has not only made the barrier of entry for Ocarina of Time lower than ever, but is also very good for the runners at the tippy top. But why is this new skip such a big deal? Well, to get the full context of that, let's take a look at the history of Ganon's collapsing tower. For several years, speedrunners would escape Ganon's castle mostly as intended, having Zelda open up each iron bar door, and defeating the Stalfos midway down without much out of the ordinary. This continued even through 2012 after the discovery of wrong warps and the implementation of Ganondorf. However, the wrong warp from Goma's room in the Deku Tree leads to this room in Ganon's tower during the collapse sequence. The only open door leads outside where you normally enter while escaping. Heading outside the tower plays the cutscene after Ganondorf is defeated, skipping his fight entirely. From here, the escape sequence mostly plays out as intended. Mostly. You are normally not supposed to be here as young Link, and as such, speedrunners needed to play a bit differently and more cautiously. The infinite sword glitch is exploited with a Deku Stick to quickly take out the Stalfos, and you have to be careful not to accidentally make contact with the rocks on the ground, as they will burn Link's wooden Deku Shield and crash the game. Aside from these differences, the collapse sequence at any percent mostly stayed the same. This all changed, however, on June 10th, 2013, when Zelda glitch hunting veteran, Glitches and Stuff, would upload a video that changed everything. A few days before, Glitches and Stuff had discovered that if Link voided out by falling off the tower on the same frame as he enters a loading zone leading inside the tower, the game respawns Link at the appropriate coordinates outside, but instead, he spawns at those coordinates inside the tower. This is known as a void warp, and with this glitch, Link could theoretically fall all the way down to the bottom of the tower and skip the majority of the escape sequence, provided he has enough health to tank the fall. This glitch was originally discovered using cheats, but a few days later, when this video by Glitches and Stuff was made, we can see a tool-assisted demonstration of what it would look like without cheats. It did not look humanly possible. This initial strat involved hovering down the side of the tower in order to reach a location where Link could void out and hit a loading zone simultaneously. Unfortunately, this strat relied on hovering off of the randomly falling rocks to hover in place, which is asking a bit much for a human. This didn't end up lasting very long, as a week later on June 17th, Sockfolder would find a reliable, hoverless setup for the Void Warp that was actually pretty easy, and saved well over 2 minutes. Just not in any percent. This specific Void Warp was for Adult Link, which was certainly useful for other categories, just not this one. Though a couple weeks later on June 22nd, Glitch Hunter and Tasser Bluebee discovered something a bit more feasible. In this tool-assisted demonstration, Bluebee used one of the randomly falling rocks to perform a hyper-extended super slide, or HES for short, off of the rock to slide all the way down to this corner where the railing meets the side of the tower at an acute angle. Using the speed from the HES and a precise angle, Link clipped through the corner, hitting the Void Out trigger and the loading zone on the same frame, successfully pulling off a Void Warp. This was huge, but kind of unrealistic to HES all the way down and just clip instantly. Luckily, Sockfolder quickly jumped on the case, and created a setup where Link HESes off a rock that falls much closer to the corner, where you would Z-target Zelda and pause buffer inputs to get the correct angle and clip through. With this consistent setup, speedrunners finally shaved 2 minutes off of the any percent run. The Sockfolder setup was consistent, but do you know what's faster? Inconsistency! Looking back at the Bluebee tasks, we can see that it's possible to start a HES from the top of the tower down to the corner and clip instantly. It's super unreliable, but totally possible, and in the spring of 2014, the top runners began to gamble it all on instaclip. Pause buffering was no more, as the runners began to roll the dice. On top of the RNG of when and where the rocks would fall, the angle runners would HES off the rock varied, and the probability of an instaclip was quite low. But when it happened, it was glorious. Obviously, this method of instaclip wasn't very sustainable in the long term, and thanks to top runner and glitch hunter Skater82297, instaclip became much more consistent. By Z-targeting and untargeting Zelda on the correct frames as you hessed down the tower, you could get the correct angle each time for the insta-clip. And it was with this method that Defeat Ganon speedrunners skipped most of the collapse sequence for the past 8 years. But this trick still remained one of, if not the hardest trick in the run, especially at the highest level of play. For starters, you have to react pretty quick to get a hess off the rock at the earliest opportunity you can get. But then, you also have to keep holding the control stick just a teeny bit outside of the analog dead zone, in a range people refer to as ESS position. Then you have to frame perfectly target and untarget Zelda, all done unbuffered. It didn't help that the insta-clip is right at the end of the run. More runs that reach this point die than live. It's exciting when runners nail it, but it's even more frustrating for the runners when they fail it. Which, to be fair, is about 70% of the time. So it would be really exciting if there was this way to skip the tower collapse sequence, have it be easier, more reliable, and more importantly, faster. In July 2018, a breakthrough was made. A few glitch hunters, notably Blinny and Jolin, were testing out clips in the collapse sequence, and with the help of cheats, discovered a potential clipping spot on one of the pillars in the room Link would appear after the Deku Tree wrong warp. On July 9th, Jolin would post a video showing how it was possible to clip through the pillar without cheats, using a bomb hover and then an explosive damage boost to clip through the pillar after jump slashing with a Deku stick. This was simplified by July 11th, using a new setup that eliminated the hover entirely, and just needed 2 bomb chews and a stick. With this revelation, it seemed like the days of instaclip were no more, and a new route began to be crafted. This new proposed route would be played on the Japanese N64 version, specifically a version 1.0 cart. This route would buy Deku sticks and nuts before heading to Kakariko Village to get the bottle, but this time, you would Navi dive into the well and use a version 1.0 exclusive glitch known as blank A to get a chest containing 10 bomb chews as fast as possible. You would then save warp out of the well and back to Kokiri Forest, and use the bomb chews to do various skips, skipping the sword, the Deku Tree cutscene, 99% of the Deku Tree dungeon, as well as through this stone wall during the wrong warp, and then after a successful wrong warp, you would use 2 chews to skip the collapse sequence. This route was ultimately very difficult, very tight on explosive count, and slower. By the time Link performs the wrong warp in this route idea video by Retro, the world record has already escaped Ganon's collapsing castle. This new route, while innovative, just couldn't compete with current strats, which at the time involved playing on the Wii Virtual Console version, which does not crash when performing the glitch Get Item Manipulation, which is used to get a bottle in the Deku Tree, which completely eliminates the trip to Kakariko Village. The route was swiftly abandoned. Aside from quick put away, the Defeat Ganon route would mostly remain the same for the next 4 years. But on May 31st, 2022, a new discovery by a Japanese glitch hunter would reignite the idea of collapse skip. The glitch hunter, Aki, had discovered a method to performing a trick known as the triple slash clip anywhere, anytime. The triple slash clip originated in Ocarina of Time 3D on 3DS, and was discovered by Kazooie. When Link does his triple slash, the animation can be cancelled by mashing A midway through the 3rd slash, causing him to boost backwards. This had an unintended side effect of being able to clip into any corner formed by an acute angle, and became one of the most important tricks in OOT 3D. As for the original OOT, it did not share the same mechanics as OOT 3D, and triple slash clips did not work the same way. In fact, it took until 2016 to find something resembling a triple slash clip in the original. In this 2016 video from SVA, we can see that Link achieves a similar effect due to the recoil of the sword hitting this column, pushing Link backwards, and then SVA pressing C up to talk to Navi to cancel the animation of the 3rd slash. 3 years later, on October 6, 2019, possibly found out that using Navi to cancel the triple slash clip like SVA did could be used to achieve an acute angle clip much like in OOT 3D. This proved to be useful in some categories, but Navi will only activate to talk after enough time has passed within an area, so this method isn't something you could do anytime. However, Aki discovered that you didn't need Navi at all. Instead of pressing C up to cancel the animation to call Navi, you would pull out an item like a slingshot, bow, or hookshot in third person by holding down Z and then that item's button to achieve the same effect. A week later, Jolin theorized that you could perform the collapse sequence using this new triple slash clip, as it would provide enough speed to clip through the first step in the stair right here, allowing for an acute angle clip. With the help of Blinny, Jolin created a setup that involved Link changing his angle mid-triple slash to set up for a proper clip. And with that, he was through! No explosives required. Following this, a new route was proposed and compared with the current Defeat Ganon route. These routes are virtually identical, collecting the sword, getting 40 rupees to buy a shield, and getting 2 sticks from the Deku Babas, and then quick put away into the Bottle Gym. But here's where the routes diverged. The old route went ahead and defeated Goma, left the Deku Tree to get bugs in the bottle, and then returned to do the wrong warp, instaclip, into Defeat Ganon combo. The new route, however, involved performing a second Gym, this time to get the light arrows, which can be equipped by Young Link using a simple glitch known as Equip Swap, which allows Young Link to equip Adult Link exclusive items and vice versa. This will act as a slingshot, which will be important for later. This new route then copies the old route up until after the wrong warp. Here we can see that the collapse sequence is beginning in the old route while the new route is still doing the wrong warp. However, this new route won't trail behind for long. With the triple slash clip collapse skip, Link escapes the castle right after the old route does instaclip, and about 35 seconds are saved. This comparison video and the triple slash clip setup were uploaded publicly on July 20th, and on that same day, an easy consistent setup by Lazoots was posted, and it is miles easier than instaclip. Lazoots would also improve his world record that day, shaving his 1634 down to a 1310? Wait a second, something's a bit off here. Why is this run 3 minutes faster if the trick is only supposed to save 35 seconds? This is where the final skip I will talk about today comes into play. Intro skip. For a while now, the timer in Ocarina of Time speedrunners began upon starting a fresh file right before the opening cutscene, which lasts a little under 3 minutes, give or take. This meant that after every reset, runners would have to sit through the opening cutscene and mash through some text boxes until the run truly began. Many speedrunners have accumulated thousands of attempts over the years, and you come to the startling realization that some of them have literally watched the intro for hundreds of hours. And as the years passed, a discussion on whether or not the intro should be skipped was inevitable. In June of 2022, the Ocarina of Time community held a moderated and long overdue discussion on their Discord server about how they should handle the intro. After a couple weeks of debate and discussion, an official vote was held. This vote would determine whether the intro should be skipped in runs, which needed a 55% majority vote for it to be allowed, what new timing method should be implemented if intro skip were to be allowed, and whether or not there should be a penalty for skipping the intro versus watching it. Votes were restricted only to people who had a verified run on the leaderboard, or those who had made a significant contribution to other aspects of the community. In addition, all voters were required to read a Google Doc which went over reasons to allow the intro skip and reasons not to allow it. In the end, on July 6, 2022, the results of the vote were revealed, and the verdict resulted in the intro skip being allowed, with a 56.7 majority vote out of 118 votes. The timing method for all runs were then altered to begin the timer upon moving Link in his house after loading a save file that had watched the opening, but hadn't left the house yet. Two interesting things about this are because the timer doesn't begin until you move Link, you could press C up to change the camera angle to what it's like when you do watch the intro. However, you must move Link and start the timer within 10 seconds of gaining control. What's also interesting is that starting from a completely fresh file and watching the intro gives you about a 4-frame advantage over skipping the intro, because Link is slightly closer to the door. Yeah, no, I'll pass on that. If you couldn't tell by my tone already, I 100% approve this change. In fact, it's one of the big reasons, along with collapse skip, that I actually feel motivated to speedrun this game now after being a spectator for so long, because from my perspective, skipping the intro makes too much sense. For starters, skipping the intro of a pre-made save file has been a precedent set by other speedrunning communities years prior. Jak and Daxter does this, New Super Mario Bros. Wii does this, but the most convincing example, in my opinion, is Super Metroid. This game has an intro similar to Ocarina of Time, both in length and that there's some text to mash through. One argument people who wanted to keep the intro had was that mashing through the text boxes was a significant enough skill to count under the timer. But if that were the case, why not include typing the file name quickly as part of the intro too and start time upon console reset like a task does? Not to mention, Super Metroid has been doing the intro skip for as long as I can remember, even back to the SDA days. I realize I'm comparing apples and oranges here, but my opinion still stands, and I couldn't be happier with the result of the community vote. If you disagree and are upset about intro skip being allowed, that's totally valid. You're entitled to your opinion, and I'll respect that. With that in mind, I have never been more excited to get into speedrunning Ocarina of Time, and that's why I decided to make this video, to share my reasons of why I'm so excited about this, and I also want to try to lead by example. Over the next week, I will be streaming my process of learning the Defeat Ganon speedrun at twitch.tv/lunaticj to show how easy it is to get into running this awesome game, and I hope some of you watching decide to learn the speedrun as well. I've included some helpful links down in the pinned comment and description, including a link to the Ocarina of Time community Discord, as well as an excellent tutorial by Drunkle Titus, which also includes a tutorial on the new collapse skip. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to shoot for the moon.